Um, okay, so let me recap again. Hello, everyone. Ashley here, Prowess Project. Um, I am thrilled for today's Women's Worth session. Why I'm so excited about this one in particular is we get so many employers who come to us and who are like, hey, we desperately need people in business development, but originally Prowess didn't attract those type of people with those skills to enter our job pool. But what we have been seeing over and over again is as they go through the entire Prowess process, their values are aligned with business development, their behavior traits are aligned with business development. But I think a lot of women just don't know what that means and what a job in business development or sales looks like. So there's that whole aspect. And then in addition, and this definitely is something that everyone in the Prowess community can relate to, is as an independent contractor, which we all are, sales is huge. You're constantly selling yourself. You're constantly making sure that people understand why you versus someone else, but then while you are doing the work, you are constantly thinking about repeat business. So that is another reason why we just thought this Sales 101 would be perfect for our Women's History Month Women's Worth event series.
I like it. That's perfect. So can you guys see my screen? It's been kind of funky. Is this showing up for you guys? Okay, cool. Awesome. Sure. Well, if that gives me the stage, Ash, I'll get it rolling.
It sure does. And real quick, I think I recognize everyone who is on the call. Is there anyone who is not familiar with Prowess Project? And I can give the quick rundown, but I think we are good. Yes, I think I recognize everyone. Real quick, platform, we help women go back to the workforce or pivot. Okay, I think we're good. Brittany, all you.
Cool. All right, well, first and foremost, Ashley totally led me in perfectly to what Allie and I are going to talk about today. So I am Brittany Klutz. I do business development for Prowess Project. I am newer to the team. I could not be more excited about my role. And to speak frankly, I never saw myself as a business development person or sales for that matter. Little did I know I'd love it as much as that I do. So in my past experience, I came from more of a corporate realm, doing talent acquisition, HR, program operations management, and driving new business, but I never saw myself as a salesperson. So coming into Prowess and taking on a business development role, I'm the first to say I was super excited about it, but I also called my sister who's on the call with me. And first thing I asked her was, I've never done sales. Can I do this? And it was the flip of a switch in my head that you don't need to be afraid of it. It's such an intimidating concept, which is what we're hoping to divulge here today and really dig in and help you guys understand that there's really not a difference between sales and business development. And we're going to look at it from two different lenses. And what you're going to see is that they all really mirror kind of the same general concepts in what you drive, whether you're an independent contractor selling yourself to a company, or if you're somebody who's within a sales role and selling to get new customers. They both really drive the same dynamics as a whole. And you'll see that, and we'll talk about that today. So on the call with me is my sister, Allie, and she is actually an area sales manager for Capital One. She has done, I can't say enough good things about her, which is why I was really wanting to have her be a part of this call. She is a mom. She manages her work schedule. She works from home, and she does it while being one of the top salespeople in her region. So she's great at it. She's good at it. And she'll also speak to the fact that she never thought she'd be in a sales role either. And here she is. So to get started, we will I just found this quote and I thought it was so great. Oh, is it going? All right. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. Somebody else is getting better as you're becoming less valuable. I see so many irrelevant salespeople. I want to cry. They stopped learning. So the number one thing, and I'm going to say sales, but when I say sales, no, I mean it as a wholehearted, like sales, business development. There's so many titles. is learning. You never stop learning, and you have to be passionate about it. So like I said, we're going to talk about 2 different avenues here. And what you're going to see is the trend is you must know your stuff and you must be willing to put yourself out there. So I'm going to start and just kind of talk about selling yourself as an independent contractor, what that really looks like. And then Allie will go into kind of how she started in her role of sales with Capital One, or just sales in general, and then leading to Capital One. And then her selling position as it currently is, and then how they kind of relate in the 2. So as a whole, some of the traits, and this is why I think women and mothers specifically are so good in this realm of work. These are really the traits that align to be good in this area. Is consistency and follow-up are critical. Reliability, credibility, compassion, authenticity, and then just enthusiasm. So I can go out and just assume you guys are all very similar, and I can ask, but I guarantee everybody in their day-to-day life has these traits within them. Being a female and being a mom, we juggle so many different things all the time. And this is one reason why I really want to hone in on why this is so important for women to really not overlook business development roles and not overlook sales, because we are so good at it. We inherit these traits. We're good at these traits. We know we can do them, and not that we are putting down men, but we're so much easier to work with in a sales environment and as a whole, working with those customers and stuff like that. So that being said, selling yourself, how do you want to get started? The first, and chime in, Allie, as you want to, but the first piece is really choosing your niche. So for me and Prowess, that was something that just hit home. It hit my heart. I'm passionate about it. I'm a mom. I've been in the corporate world. I've worked with a lot of males. I've seen the change and variability in different environments working in sales and with men. So for me, this is something that I found very, very, very cool to be a part of. So the number one thing in anything that you want to look at is something that you're passionate about. And who are you in addition to being a female? Who are you in addition to being a mom? Look at that from your own personal lens, but then look at it as how other people see you too. And that is key to how you want to start. That is key to what's going to make you successful, is you need to be passionate about it and finding your identity. How are you truly going to have an impact on what you want to bring to a company and what you're going to do within that company and bring to other customers? So from there, identifying your target clients, and this is kind of where I think Al will get into, but again, like I said, selling yourself as an independent contractor is very similar. If you can do that, you can sell yourself as a salesperson to customers. So identifying your target clients is really, once you find your niche and you find where you're passionate about, doing your research, and this is where we'll get into becoming an expert and educating yourself. Really understand the industry that you're getting into and know it like the back of your hands. And before you know it, when you're doing your research, you're going to find your target clients. You will be creating your list as you're doing your research. So that leads into number 3, becoming that expert and really knowing what your competition's going to be, what your risks are going to be, where you're really good at, and that sort of thing before you go and really create that list. And you're going to pull, that's all going to kind of wean itself together as you start doing your research. And then educate. So once you, and a lot of the times when you find something you're passionate about, you realize you kind of already are an expert. I guess that's one piece, is when you're passionate about something or you really care, you'll find that you actually probably know a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for too. So once you become comfortable speaking to this, doing your research, then you have that knowledge. Find people who find value in understanding that knowledge, what you can bring to them. Start talking to people and educating them. This is what I have. Start to build kind of your network without even intending to do so. Start talking about those values and putting them out there so people understand what you're going for and you're trying to build. And before you know it, it kind of leads you into those next pieces of really building your network. So it's funny how it works. You really start with finding your niche and your passion. And like I said, that's why sales is such a silly, scary concept, but in reality, like, you really can do it without having a lot. Once you start, it kind of works its way through. So from there, obviously, social media is a big thing. A strong presence online is also really critical. So you may be comfortable on certain platforms, but you may not be super familiar with LinkedIn. So just start poking around in there. You can go on Google and you can search, for example, ways to network within LinkedIn. I mean, all of this stuff is not only available within our prowess community, but it's available on the World Wide Web, and you can find this, but you just have to start somewhere. Like, you really just have to start. And social media is a great way to really create your online presence as an independent contractor. From there, it's taking advantage of your networks. So in doing your research, who have you found? What are some companies that you're coming across, customers that you're coming across? And then start gathering your testimonials. So a lot of what is key to this is when you're talking to people, let them help bring the knowledge to you as well. So be a good listener, help them really teach you in return. So as you're having these conversations with people, as you're starting to network, ask questions, get involved, and let them teach you in return. And what you'll find is that's also going to start to build that network for you. So being creative, looking for speaking opportunities, that just really helps with getting comfortable talking in front of customers. And we'll get more into all of these once we get into more of the sales and business development and how we actually will do those things. But really get comfortable speaking, get comfortable asking questions. And a lot of this you can just do with your family or your peers, but it starts to become just so natural. And that's really, I think, the biggest fear people have in sales is, how do you get yourself out there? How do you put yourself out there and feel comfortable? And the biggest thing is you have to be passionate about something, and you'll find you're really good at talking about it automatically. So that's kind of the independent contractor piece. Like I said in the beginning, what you're going to see is selling yourself as an independent contractor is so the same as selling yourself as someone already within a sales role on the sales side, really selling to customers. And this is where I'll want to introduce Allie. She's just been phenomenal, and she's really going to dig into the difference between sales versus business development. And is there really a difference? Quite frankly, there isn't, but she can speak and tell her story, and it's so great. And if you guys have questions, feel free to speak up. We want this to be kind of an open forum, but I really wanted to chat about that first, the independent contractor piece, because how it ties into just being a salesperson. A lot of people who may not be in a sales role or who had never been in a sales role will see that the two traits and the two dynamics really, they end up mirroring one another. And as long as you have both concepts in your head, they kind of work as one. So take it out.
All right. Thank you. I am super excited to be here. Brittany, that introduction a while ago. So yeah, I just had a baby who's almost turning 1. And so now I'm also like way more emotional than I ever was before. So I literally almost started crying with that like 2-minute introduction. So wow, but I got through it. So sales, this is all I've done in my career without even realizing it. And I didn't really realize I've been doing it for a really long time. And like Brittany said, I really don't like the word sales, to be honest. And I said that to her too. It is intimidating. I picture being like in a room of executives, like pitching some national brand, and it's scary and I'm nervous and I can't talk. It's not that scary. It's actually really not at all. It's really just about people. And since I was really, really little, Brittany knows, I just love people. And I'm sure everyone in this entire community, which is incredible, is here for a reason. And it's because you guys also love people. And so that is sales. It's literally it's filling a need. It's doing discovery on what your clients and your customers need. And that's why I really like the term business development a lot more, because you're really helping your consumers, whether it's business to business sale, and you're actually helping a business develop, or you're working with consumers directly, and you're actually helping fill that need. So perfect introduction there. And oh, thanks, Brett. So before we hop in here, I'll give you guys a little bit about my background too. And again, since I've only done sales really in my career, I can share some of the experiences that have really, really helped me grow in this role, and hopefully share that so that you guys can have little takeaways from that as well. So as you know, Brittany's sister, I'm born and raised in Minnesota, and my first professional career in sales, I actually consider to be as a server. Again, I didn't really realize I was doing it but I was meeting with people all the time. I was talking to people all the time. I was asking questions about their life. I was asking, did they have kids? I was getting to know people. Like, how fun is that? That is sales. It's getting to know people. It's asking the right questions. It's really fun. It's a great thing to be a part of. And so that was actually my first experience with sales. And that's actually what turned into an opportunity when I was a server. A GM of a car dealership came in, and I was, picking his brain, and he was kind of a regular. So we chatted back and forth, and he actually ended up being a mutual friend of my husband's. And so he said, I really like people that are in the serving industry. You guys, you ask questions, you're good with people. I would love to have the opportunity to bring you in for an interview. And so that was actually my first job right out of college, was selling cars, which I literally knew nothing about. So if I can sell cars, I couldn't change a tire. I didn't know anything about an engine. In fact, I called my Chevy Malibu an all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive car. Okay. So I had to learn a lot about cars, but it wasn't that hard, because really what it is, it's learning about people. It's learning about their needs. I can learn about cars. I can figure that out. But it's really learning about what people need. Do you need how many kids do you have? Maybe you need a minivan. What are you looking for? It's just asking the right questions. So car sales. Then I was actually able to get a really, really great opportunity. I got into a little bit of marketing within the dealership. I ended up in finance in dealerships. And so I was able to get a lot of really wonderful experience with each different career that I had had within the automotive side. And I am still in auto. Now I'm just on the banking side. So I work for Capital One Auto Finance. And we do a whole host of different things, but I'm now more of a business to business salesperson. And I work with different car dealerships to give them a really great experience, and also our end consumers as well. So all of it is under this all-encompassing sales role. But as we're going into the strategic thinking and becoming a trusted advisor, this is something I'm extremely passionate about. We talk about it a lot at Capital One, and being strategic partners instead of just a salesperson. The worst thing I can ever be called is a vendor. I don't want to be called a vendor, because that means I'm showing up just to give you something, and you're not calling me. You're not calling me to ask, hey, have you worked with this person before? What do you think of them? Should I bring them on board? Like, I am a strategic consultant. I don't just want to be somebody that they call for financing needs. I want them to call me just to talk. That's my goal, is really growing those relationships, because again, sales, business development, pretty much all of it falls under relationships. So I'm going to share a little story as we're jumping in here, which kind of speaks to, I'm not really big on PowerPoints. I have ADD, as you can probably tell. So it pretty much encompasses everything on the screen. But the first time I ever actually sold, I was thinking about this when Brittany and I were kind of tossing around ideas, and it was actually when I sold Sally Foster wrapping paper in the 4th grade. And I don't know if any of you guys have had to do fundraisers with your kids, but like, it is intense. I wanted to get first. There was like this little boom box that I wanted to win, and I was determined. I've been a competitive athlete my whole life. I was going to win the Sally Foster wrapping paper prize. And so I got home, I went out, like knocked on all the neighbors' doors. I knew I was going to do really great things. I was horrible at it. All I did was I picked out my favorite wrapping paper, and I was trying to sell my favorite wrapping paper. I loved Christmas. So basically I was trying to get everyone to buy my favorite Christmas wrapping paper. Everyone kept saying no. And in fact, the moment that I realized how bad I was doing, I knocked on somebody's door and I said, I would love to give you this Merry Christmas wrapping paper. Try to get them to buy it. It's for fundraiser. It's for a good call. It's for a good cause. And the woman very kindly said, I'm sorry, I don't want that. I'm Jewish. And I was like, oh my God, I'm horrible and I need to quit forever. You have to ask questions. That is the number one piece of sales. You can't assume anything about anyone. You've just got to ask questions. And that's something that's easy to do for any of the moms. We ask what our kids want for dinner. We ask what our husband wants for dinner. I ask questions about what I need. We just need to get to know our clients and things like that. So when I say strategic thinking and strategic partner, it's really just about getting to know them. I do a needs analysis. That's pretty much the first thing I do with every single one of my customers, is getting to know what their needs are, whether it's something I can solve. Sometimes I actually send them to a competitor. It might not be something that I can help out with, but I know somebody who can. So it's really thinking outside the box and not pushing what you think is best, but getting to know what is really best there. So Can I ask a quick question too for anyone who's sharing their video? Has anyone had any experience in sales? If you want to just put an arm up in the air. Lori. Okay, so we've got a lot of salespeople. If you don't mind, if you want to come off mute, would you maybe shout out like what your experience has been in sales, just briefly what that role looked like?
I've only ever been in sales, so I always chuckle when someone says, "Oh, we want you to help make sales not a dirty word in the office." And I think you have just met such the wrong people. I feel so sad because a salesperson, I said this to Ashley once and I mean it. If every conversation you have with someone, you aren't helping them, and I don't care about what, it doesn't mean I sold them anything today. It means I was a huge benefit to them in some small way, shape, or form. Then I believe in that whole the score will take care of itself. Eventually, I'll be their Kleenex when they need a tissue. And that's your goal in sales, is to connect those two things, be a helper. So I love this call. My boss just said, "Can we catch up in 5 minutes?" And I'm like, I don't want to say yes to him, but I know when I have to. But this is awesome. And I love that you're doing, I'm going to go back and watch the recording. Thank you so much for hosting this.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Lori.
you.
Thanks for sharing your experience too.
I love Prowess Project. I can't say it enough. To anybody with ears, go get them,
And
girls.
I just found out about Prowess Project.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
Thank you, Lori. And I think I saw, was it Melanie or Cynthia? I think I saw some other hands up. If you want to share too a little bit of your experience with sales.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, I'm happy to share my experience. I've been in client-facing roles for the bulk of my career. I just kind of happened upon this morning, so I'm like, oh, let me jump in because I am currently looking. But it's so funny. I agree with everything that you and Brittany have said in terms of being consultative, discovery calls. You should always be asking questions and kind of learning what the client is. And I 100% agree that sometimes there's not a fit. And not only are you doing them a favor, but you're wasting time if you're talking to people that you cannot help. If you try to shoehorn your solution to client, they're going to be very unhappy in the long term, and you're going to waste a lot of time because you weren't authentic. Clearly you were super salesy. And I actually get really annoyed when people put down sales, because I'm like, it's like, I don't know who you've dealt with, but clearly not a professional, clearly not somebody that really believed in their product. They just were after like the money, which obviously we all need to pay our bills. But I do think that I think it gets bucketed into a very negative connotation when many people really do legitimately care about their clients. And the ones that do have a long-term vision, and you'll always win in the long term. Always. So I love it. I mean, and another thing I think too, that, sometimes you don't have the right role models, like in your managers. Maybe they just don't know. A lot of times sales managers are just ex-sales guys, and they just will like, close the deal at any cost. And one of the things I've just only recently in the last year taken a real interest in is personal development. I realized all the people that I've found that were most successful, that I respect, the thought leaders in sales and marketing, they are constant learners, reading books every week, every month, because it's all about fine-tuning your craft. Because even if these sales books and marketing books only reinforce things you already know, it's reinforcing what you know. And if you learn one little new thing, that's made you better. So I mean, I think in terms of I used to look at it as just a job. Now I'm like, it's a craft, because it really is. And if you look at it that way, your clients are going to love you for it, because you will come off more credible.
Yep. I so appreciate you sharing that, Cynthia. I think you're spot on there, is that there is such a negative stigma around sales. And that is because the wrong people are in the wrong roles that think it's just about hitting a metric, and they can go out and tell themselves, I can hit this metric, or I can do it. And that's not the point. And the reality is, end goal, you're not going to get where you need to. You might hit the metric for a couple months, but long-term, one, are you happy? And two, are you going to be long-term successful in doing it? So I'm so glad you said that. And I really think that's where sales gets this negative vibe, is it's the wrong people in the wrong roles. But when you put the right people in the right roles that are there to drive what they're passionate about, the sky's the limit. So anybody else
Yeah.
Yeah, can I? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say why I love this so much is because Brittany has been with our team for how long, Brittany?
I think this is my
2.5 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
3 weeks. She's already closed 2 deals?
Yes, sister.
Y'all, that is unheard
Yay.
of. That is unheard of. And it's exactly what she's saying. Like, become the expert, be passionate about what you're doing. I mean, again, unheard of. I think our record before was 3 months into the role and someone had their first sale. So it just shows girl knows what she's talking about.
And I think it's one thing to say all these things, right? But when you truly have your heart in the game for what you want to do, like I said, the sky is the limit, and it can't be about, we all need a paycheck in our pocket, right? But when you find something you're truly passionate about, like I guarantee Allie never thought cars was going to be in her wheelhouse for selling, but she cares so much for people. It could just be people, right? And the relationships that you build, that's really how sales just thrives. So that can kind of tie us in. You've seen this on screen. Like I said, we're not PowerPoint people. You'll notice Allie and I are sisters. We talk very fast. So this is just here more of like, if you don't catch what we're saying in the 2.5 seconds that we speak quickly, it's here as a resource too. But a lot of it is more about strategic thinking is what I really think. Is there an echo? Can you guys hear me?
That's me, I think. I'll be.
Okay. Strategic thinking, I really think, is why that it's so important versus tactical. And I think that's where the ball gets missed in sales. It's truly becoming that trusted advisor in everything that we're talking about. And when you can align your goals and your values with the needs and wants of other customers, that is truly where you're going to succeed. So these are just some of the really thinking strategies that you'll see in strategic thinking versus tactical. Reactive is really not what you want to be in sales. You really want to be future-based. You want to come with the solutions, not the problems, and get curious. A lot of times people think asking questions makes them look like they may not know, and that customers may see them as lacking the knowledge. But the reality is, getting curious shows your investment. It shows your understanding. And the more you're comfortable and you know the industry, the more you can ask strategic-based questions to get curious, right? Good steward of resources. So just utilizing what's at your fingertips. Allie, for example, she's my sister. So having her on this call and just really picking her brain, it's the resources are right there. They're right around you. So being smart and using that to your advantage, and being a risk taker. Don't be afraid. I have a quote, I posted on my mirror. What does it say? Read it the other day to Al too. Don't let the fear hold you back, or there's going to be, I can't remember the exact quote, but you have to be willing to take a risk. No, you're going to fail, right? You're going to fail. And sales, I think, is another reason that it gets that negative stigma, is it sometimes does touch at your ego, right? You may not win a customer every time. You may not land a company the first time, right? You learn in every situation. And within that, that is why people will succeed. So being nimble, being flexible, urgency, and that goes back to those first qualities we said, is like customers really, when you're on top of what they need, your follow through, consistency, all of that is really where you build that trusted advisor. So these are just some of the traits. Allie, you want to add anything here?
Yeah, as far as like just the strategic versus tactical as well, like in our world, we use transactional a lot in kind of our industry as well. Like, we do not want to be transactional. We're not here for just one simple transaction and then we'll see you later. We're here for the long term. Cynthia, you pointed that out too. It's so true. We might not be the fit right now, but if we can continue to get this relationship rolling, 5 years down the road, I might have something that you need. And so that's really big. I see the reactive there. This is so important in any sales role as well. Being reactive, I've dealt with some heated clients before because things go wrong. Everything's not perfect. It happens. What they remember is typically it's not that one thing that went wrong. It's how you react to it. It's being that sales strategic person finding a solution based is so important as well. Figuring out ways to sometimes we say sell the no. We've got to find a way to communicate that to our clients in the right way, and also continuing to find better solutions and different ways about that instead of being reactive and having, a negative customer experience in that moment. So just not thinking transactionally and always thinking big picture is really, really important in any sales role. And again, like not focusing directly on the cost and things like that, but thinking about down the road how all of these things can balloon into these wonderful relationships and referrals and different things like that. So I don't have really too much to add here, but you kind of touched on a lot of that.
I have a quick question. What did you mean by sell the no? I thought that was a really good, what does that mean?
Okay, so sell the no is, as salespeople, we cannot always meet all of the needs of our clients, right? Sometimes, unfortunately, they ask for a lot and we can only meet them here. So what are all the other things that we can bring to this person? Maybe it's you selling yourself, maybe they're looking for specific experience that you might not have, but what do you have? What are these other things that you can offer? So it's like selling the no, finding the benefits and the positives. So that does that kind of help with that, Ashley? Perfect. Yeah. We have all this lingo. So if I say something that's actually Capital One lingo, please feel free.
No, I like it. I like it.
And
we actually speak in acronyms, I realized. And sometimes my husband's like, what did you just say? I'm like, oh gosh, sorry.
I'm glad you said that. No, that's great. So that's another thing, and we'll kind of get into this, but one concept you'll see that's carrying on through each slide is that the beauty of this is for somebody who's re-entering the workforce, you don't need, you can enter anytime you're ready. You don't need to have XYZ qualifications to be in sales or to do business development. And that right there is such a huge, huge, awesome opportunity for anyone out there. You don't have to wait for someone to give you the go ahead. You literally can do this tomorrow. If you have the drive and the willingness and the want to do it about something you're passionate for, I promise you can be successful in business development. So what I was going to say there is you don't also need to have a million leads to be successful. A lot of times it could be having one lead. And when I say saturate, it's really digging into how can you saturate that one lead. So if you have, let's say, I'm kind of jumping all over here, but let's say you have one large account and you have one opportunity there, right? But in this large account, there's multiple opportunities. So to get started, you may just want to work with one big, large account and try to figure out how you can saturate and diversify the account that you have right now before having to worry and stress yourself out about growing multiple accounts. So I think that's where sales can also get kind of overwhelming, is people set these crazy goals and they set these crazy target metrics and accounts when you can really start with just one and really dig into that, figure out use that as an example to really get started. And ask yourself those questions. What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their short-term? What are their long-term in every realm of their business, not just one. So you don't need to have a long list of targets to get started. You can do it with just one, right? And I think that's one thing that just kind of came to mind here is that when we say target, a list of targeted accounts to really get going, you don't have to overwhelm yourself to be successful either. So strategies to get started, and Al, you can kind of add into this, but
can I chime in there actually really quick? So I know you brought up, especially with this group, if you're looking for a sales role and there's a specific industry or something that you might not have the experience for, do not let that hold you back. I actually, even though I've been in this role with Capital One for 4.5 years, specifically with this company, my role in the last year, if I would have applied for it when I started, I probably wouldn't have applied for it because I wouldn't have thought I had the experience, because we have made a huge shift for digital. We hear digital technology, all of these different things. And I was actually I had so many limiting beliefs when I was hearing all of these changes that were going to happen in my role that I myself was like, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Maybe I should actually find something else because I don't know if I can do it. That is so not true. It is just going out and it's learning and it's asking questions. And like, I subscribed, and this kind of goes back to some of the things that Britt said with different resources and things like that. I subscribe to Automotive News, riveting stuff if you ever want to read it. For me, it's really important, even though it's really not always that exciting. It is so relevant to my dealer partners to make sure that I'm invested and that I know what's going on in the world of the auto industry. And I'm actually really good at this digital thing that I was so afraid of. And it's actually a lot more fun. Now I'm dealing with a whole another area of the dealership world with marketing and things like that I didn't think I had any experience in until you try it. So just go for the roles, even if you think you might not have the experience in them. That really spoke to me there, Britt, because I really had to reimagine myself in my current role in the same company because of some of the changes that we're going through. So just don't be afraid to put your name in the hat for some of those, even if it's an industry that you might not be familiar with, and reach out to resources to learn it. Mm-hmm. So Britt, I stole that from you. Back to you.
No, I'm still sitting here trying to think of how I say saturate again. Like, all right, let's do this. Let's try it again. Or should we think of a different word?
Saturate.
No, I think, and at the end of the day, that's why it's so cool to utilize this platform and Prowess as a whole. Is this is a community right here where there's no better group of women and resources available for you. And you can start at any time. Like, this is really becoming an information sponge, being an active listener, practicing asking questions. All that stuff is why Prowess is here. Use that engagement platform for your resources. And it's one of those areas where Prowess hasn't really thrived yet in sales, but it so could, because there's so many women with these qualities within our community that can be really, really, really good. And companies would be so beyond grateful to have each one of them a part of their organizations and to drive. And even if it's at an individual level where you want to start your own company, or you're looking at different ways to market your own products, that sort of thing, it's all of the same qualities that will get you started that you need. And from there, the sky's the limit. So, Al, are there any tools that you've used or seen that help really with like planning or strategizing for once you're in? What do you kind of use within Capital One?
Yeah, so that's a really good point that you brought up. So most sales, well, not all sales roles, being organized, so we use CRM, it's customer relationship management. And many of you, if you're in a sales role, might be familiar with that, but a lot of, if you're going for certain companies will work with CRMs. If not, you kind of want to make sure that you're staying organized with whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, Google Drive, whatever it is, that you guys stay organized with your prospect list so that you're making sure, like Brittany had said earlier too, to be following up with these customers. Just organization is really one big important part of sales because we have follow-up that we have to do. We might be reaching out to a lot of different clients at a lot of different points in time, and being that reliable salesperson is really important. So Salesforce, like if any of you guys have worked on Salesforce, that's a really common one where if you guys need resources and things like that, there's also a bunch of resources on the internet too for a lot of the different CRM systems and different tools that you can use to get more comfortable with as well. And I'm sure that this community too, a lot of you guys have worked with different tools as well that you could reach out to. Does that help, Britt?
Yeah. Yep.
And Allie, real quick, as far as different CRMs go, with Prowess, one of the main things that we help women do is get back up to speed on the different technology. And so we suggest focusing on HubSpot because it's free, whereas Salesforce is not. However, what I love about HubSpot is it's a great baby step into Salesforce because yes, Salesforce is the gold standard by all stretch of the imagination. So I highly recommend HubSpot if you want to dive in and check all of that out. And also too, these are such great questions and great points. Please, y'all, feel free to hop into the community and add some of these things that you're learning throughout this, because I'm taking all these notes, but what I think are like these great aha moments, I'm sure you guys have different ones. So again, just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. And I'm sure we could
Thanks,
talk
Ashley.
for, oh, go ahead. Someone have a question? Oh, that was just you.
No, I'm just butting in again. Ashley.
I think she just likes to say your name. But like I said, so we have, like, I could speak on this stuff forever. I think there's just, it tells you that there's that many resources out there. Are there other things for the other people on this call that you guys have questions about that you want to ask specifically to sales, business development? There's so many different titles out there. I actually had a slide that listed them all, and I'm like, this is just so overwhelming. But if you have questions about, is this a sales role? Is this not a sales role? Like anything that you guys want out of this call, let me know if there's any questions you have right now.
I have a question, Brittany.
Yeah.
What does a typical day look like to you? Like, do you break up your day in such a way where you cold call on certain days? And what does a discovery call look like? Like, I don't know, I guess kind of like get an idea of what like a regular business day would be for you.
No, that's great. And I think Allie and I will probably have very different considering our backgrounds, but I can start and then I'll have Allie fill in hers. So for me, it really also too depends where you're at in your sales role or where you're at in your business development. So when I started with Prowess, there was actually a podcast that was just held for interior designers that Ashley had done. And that as a result brought in a ton of people and inquiries from specifically the interior design industry. So when I started, I didn't have to do a lot of cold calls specifically with Prowess. However, that being said, it was constantly in the back of my mind as I'm going through things, how I can network this or how, like, and as I will do things. So for example, I wasn't having to cold call immediately, but I have a list of leads constantly active on my desk always. That being said, I'm constantly building it up. So when I do get to a point, which is now like this week, where we've kind of worked through that and we don't have the same influx coming through just naturally, I can now go to that checklist of leads and start pinging those things. So depending on how much you're currently working through, what business you already have through the pipeline really determines how much you're going to have to do on the back end. So when I started, I would say 80% of it was working through the current business, whereas 20% was really prospecting for future customers. Now it's kind of the flip. It's going to be the reverse. So now it's making sure I work through those remaining and do the follow through to close those deals, but then am networking through LinkedIn, through getting involved in the community. A lot of it is you will see LinkedIn is also, here we go with this word, saturated. Super saturated with people posting jobs, super saturated with people inundating your inbox with, hey, we have this opportunity. Hey, we have this opportunity. How can you separate yourself from that? And the only way that you can do that is within your personal network. So I'll give you an example here. My husband works for the Mall of America. Everyone thinks he's a ride operator. That's what he tells everybody. He is not. He works actually for the offices and the construction industry. But within the mall, they do a Toddler Tuesday every week. And so mothers who have kids, it's a networking option. And they've done it for years and years and years and years. And moms can come out and they bring all their kids and they get exercise, they walk around the mall, they get to know people. And so one of the things that came to mind is here where this community of women, eventually these women will be looking, even now, maybe they're looking for part-time jobs or a way to just start to work back into the workforce. How can we advertise or how can we market and utilize that as a free network per se? So through my husband versus having to go the typical channels via, I shouldn't say typical, but how a lot of people choose to network via LinkedIn. You're going to get a lot more traction when you use those resources at your fingertips. So when I say get creative, really use, like I'm telling, and at first I'm like, there's no way this isn't going to work. And a lot of the things I think of, I'll then talk myself out of, like I'll back down, just don't let your, like when it's in the moment in your head, just do it, reach out. Worst thing they can do is tell you no, right? So great question. I really like that. So that's kind of what my current day today looks like, given kind of the businesses, the dynamics will change. And if you grow your customer level to the point where you don't have to do cold calling or prospecting, that sort of thing, that's outstanding. But you're always going to want it in the back of your mind, and you'll find it happens naturally. Like, well, this would be a great option for me to network here. Or this would be a great option for me to network here. So
Thank you,
Anybody
Brittany.
else?
That was super helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Yep. Al, do you want to add to
Britt,
that?
I'm going to add, oh, sorry, once again, I'm going to add 2 things really quick to that also. So that list, you didn't share it on here, but if anyone is looking on LinkedIn for different sales roles and things like that too, that list could be helpful because there are different roles that I don't always think of. Like my husband's an account executive. He's still in sales. So searching for different keywords and pings on LinkedIn and things like that is really helpful. And to that same extent, this kind of just gave me an idea, Brittany, but being that my husband's in advertising, one of the things that he does too for cold calling and getting resourceful is like when he starts out his day, which looks totally different now that he's working from home, he does still have that list where it's more account management and he's working with his current clients. So he definitely he allots time specifically to stay organized to make sure that he's handling all of those accounts. But then he also takes time to be really creative. And we get these little mailer packages, which is literally companies that are paying for advertisements with a coupon and different things like that. He'll go in the mail, he'll get this little mailer advertisement, and he'll dig through and see which companies are advertising through the mail to find, hey, they're spending advertising dollars this way. Maybe I can help he's in radio advertising. So he thinks strategically on maybe I can help fill a niche and get them, exposure on the radio. So just thinking really creatively on whatever industry you're in. For me, I'm more in account management now than I was when I originally started in this role that I'm in. I actually worked for a credit union and we didn't work with a lot of car dealerships. So I had to do a lot of cold calling and it was getting creative on how to find more car dealerships that needed my help and using Google Maps to find businesses that were looking for help. It's just finding creative ways to find different companies and utilizing your network.
Yep. And I would say a lot of it, I know COVID kind of changed this perception too. But in my previous roles, back when I was in more talent acquisition side of things, I was in a sales in a realm because I was trying to network with large companies where I could find employment for people. But we would do lunch and learns. So you could still do that virtually, right? You could still host a lunch and learn where you can either get a group of women together to do just this type of a thing, or where you're talking about your product, any type of thing that really, and then you treat them to the lunch and learn, right? Anything that's really not super hard on the pocketbook, but still gets everybody together and in a nice creative fashion. It's open conversation versus super structured and just uncomfortable. I think also really helps open the gates for people. I used to even just get in my car, to be honest, and I would drive certain metro areas and write down companies. And then I would just start searching. It's just another way to, when you're sitting behind a computer all the time and network, it's another way to just kind of try to engage, or sometimes until they slap your hand and say, no, walk in the door, right? Just ask if there's someone you could talk to about, who knows what it would be, but you'd be very surprised at the results you will get when you just step outside of your comfort zone behind your computer desk too. There's a lot of different ways, even with COVID. There's a lot of, what do they call them now? Remote workspaces where you can go and just boot up your computer and it's a group of people from different companies where they all go work together. It's very common now too. Even within COVID, they're all just kind of separated 6 feet apart. So I know that there's specifically quite a few ones that are just women driven here in the Twin Cities too. So stuff like that really helps you pilot different approaches than everybody else that's inundating the LinkedIn networks or all of the other places where you see a lot of those common people garage sale things on Facebook. I know that there's pros and cons to what you can and can't post, but you'd be surprised in some of those groups what you'd find. So anybody else?
Another thing I want to add too, if that's okay, we've bounced around to a few different things in sales, but also preparation. I kind of didn't hit on that, but when I'm going into a sales call, whether it's again for if you're going into an interview or going into a sales call, if you've ever played sports and you're an athlete, you do a lot of practicing. We practice pretty much everything we do before we show up for the game. Do that with your interviews, even though it's really uncomfortable and talk about getting out of your comfort zone. We call it scrimmaging, but I'll scrimmage before I have a meeting with one of my owners or something like that I know might be a tougher conversation. And I practice, and whoever I'm practicing with, they ask me really tough questions back that I might not think of, so that I am prepared when I actually have that meeting with that owner, oh yeah, I have the answer to that. So same thing with interviews. have a family member or a friend scrimmage with you before you go into that interview. And I'm really, as you can see, I'm unscripted. I don't really like to have something to really stick to and memorize because that's just not me. However, it does help when I practice a little bit because it makes the game a little bit easier, if that helps too.
And that's kind of just, maybe you want to pin this one up there, Ashley, but that could be something too that could be helpful down the road, is if we get enough people within Prowess that are interested in business development, we could create a scrimmage, where it's an open platform, and I'd be more than willing to do that with people, or anything to just help people overcome that barrier of having a fear in business development and sales and feel comfortable speaking to it too. So just food for thought. Anyone else? Ashley?
So this timing is so perfect. So this morning I was on a call with a really, really big talent acquisition firm that we are going to do a research project with. And it's going to be all about women returning to the workforce and how we can better use transferable skills from caregiving over into the workforce. And so I'm curious, Allie and Brittany, since you both are moms, what do you think is the one skill that you have that is best used in business development that you have really honed by being a mom?
Just one?
Yeah. I'm sure you have a bazillion, but what would be a good example?
I'm going to say patience.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I have a 12-month-old. So I think listening, even though she cannot talk, listening, knowing what she needs, listening is very important in sales. Even though I am a talker, I have to shut up sometimes. I have to ask questions and listen to my clients and get them talking. That has probably been one of the biggest takeaways, I would say, is like, I need to just listen to what your needs are.
I love it.
I would say the peer, how do I put this into one? I would say caring, like the genuine fact that you care, and like every day you're caring for your children day in and day out. They are always in the back of your mind. You're constantly caring. Like that's why we get in our own heads as moms and women, like we care so much. But at the end of the day, that's why we are so successful, because we care. We truly care. We're invested. So that's my one. And if you need more, you just let me know. But care.
Perspective is another great one too.
Yeah. And what do you mean by perspective?
Sorry, Nicole, I think you were just
I know. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Perspective, just the days that do get tough, not every day is going to be the easiest. So just having perspective, a child really has done that for me. It's going to be okay. Even the tough days where you hear no in sales, just move on. It'll get better.
Yeah. I was going to say, Ashley, one that I know is big, is adapting. As moms, we play so many roles. We are our children's cooks, we're their maids, we're their barbers, we're, all these things. And so I think adaptability, that's something that as moms, we really kind of hone in on,
100%.
Love it. Love it.
Anyone else want to chime in on that take? No. All right. Well, we are getting to top of the hour too, so that was perfect. Of course, I have to end with a little Peloton quote because I'm totally a Peloton groupie. But I think this all just goes back to embrace your failure. Don't be afraid to step in and be okay that not everything's going to work out. I think that goes back to that adaptability piece. Is we do care and we do beat ourselves up, but at the end of the day, trust the process. It is going to work out, right? Embrace those failure, and eventually you're going to appreciate the little wins along the way, and it's going to lead to something fantastic. So, yeah, that's what I have. Allie, you got anything you want to close with?
I just want to say thank you. This was really fun to see all of your wonderful faces and to be able to come out here, and thanks for having me. And thanks for participating, everyone. That always makes this way easier.
Thank y'all. This has been fantastic. And just reminder for everyone, like we were saying before, please feel free to hop into the community. If you like these, we are doing this series in March, but we want to continue forever. Please post about them. Like I said, the more the more traction that we get, the more we will know that, hey, these are the topics that people want to hear about, and we'll be able to get more people lined up to share. But ladies, y'all have done such a great job. Like I said, I have so much notes. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we're here for you guys too. So like I said, Ashley alluded to that, but for me as well, if there's things you guys want to see more from me, I'm just as much here for the business development as I am for the people and the women in this community. So find me in the community, reach out. I'll start posting some stuff in there too relative to sales. But if you want to connect with me one-on-one, I am all ears. So cool. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. I hope that there is no snow where you are. And if there is, that it's melting quicker than where it is out my front window.
I love it. And we have our next one on Thursday, which is all about judgment calls. So hope y'all can make that as well.
Awesome. Thanks again, Al. Thank you, Ashley. And thanks everybody else for joining.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care. We'll talk.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.